Parliament may be on a holiday break, but that is not stopping the Conservative Party's attacks on the Liberal government. Party leader Pierre Poilievre released what he calls a New Year's movie this morning on social media. Here's a short clip from the 11-minute video that is titled Wackos.
There seems to be an overabundance of wacko events in Canada these days, but who's behind them?
Does capitalist democracy still work? That's the question being posed around kitchen tables.
But what exactly is a wacko? Is there an accepted general definition? According to vocabulary.com, a wacko is a person who is eccentric or mad.
The video roasts numerous Liberal cabinet ministers, past and present, and ends with a few jabs at NDP leader Jagmeet Singh. Liberal MPs from Quebec are the latest group to call for Justin Trudeau's resignation. They joined the party's Atlantic and Ontario caucuses. MP Alexandre Mendez says the message from the Quebec caucus is clear.
Consensus was that the Prime Minister should step away. That has been the consensus that was communicated to the caucus chair, and that he was meant to convey to the National Caucus chair.
So what does all of this mean for politics in the new year? For more on what to expect, we are joined by Lori Turnbull. She is a political science professor at Dalhousie University. We've reached her in Ottawa today. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me.
I want to start with that video from the Conservatives. What does it tell you about what we can expect in terms of tone as we wait to see what Trudeau will do? And we know a federal election is upcoming and it could be sooner rather than later.
Right. I think that's absolutely right. I think we can see both of the two main political parties are kind of gearing up. They're in election mode. The Conservatives have put out this video, 11 minutes long, this wacko theme that actually connects back to a time in the House of Commons where Pierre Poilievre got in trouble for calling the Prime Minister a wacko. And so I think we can see that must have been a good moment, right? I think that if I'm remembering correctly, that was a moment where the Conservatives did really good fundraising off of that. It was something that resonated with people. And so now they've stretched the whole thing into an 11-minute video where they're focusing on not just Justin Trudeau, but other people in the Liberal Party as well. We can see a lot of, pictures and video of Chrystia Freeland, things that she said. They're putting, the Liberals kind of in their own words. They're focusing. It's like an 11-minute attack ad on the Liberals and coming back to this word wacko to try to get into people's heads about you can't trust these people. You can't trust them with the economy. You can't trust them with your lives. There's a big focus in that video on, not letting the Liberals continue to handle the economy, that kind of thing. But I would say, the Liberals at the same time are coming out with their own ads. They're not anything like that, but they're focusing on kind of a different kind of fear tactic in the sense that they're suggesting that Poilievre would cut a whole bunch of programs, right? And so to my knowledge, Pierre Poilievre hasn't said anything about that in terms of what he would cut. But I think, that's part of the Liberals' angle in terms of trying to get at, people's sense of fear of what might happen, what might be lost if Pierre Poilievre becomes Prime Minister. And so we are definitely in election mode now. If we didn't know that earlier yesterday, we definitely know it now.
Yeah, but who's going to be running for the Liberals? Because we've got the Atlantic, Ontario, now Quebec MPs. They're all calling for Trudeau to go. What do you think he's going to do in the next days, weeks?
That's the question, right? What is he going to do? Because these, to the Ontario caucus, the Quebec, the Atlantic, these are the pillars of Justin Trudeau's strength, right? We're not waiting for the Saskatchewan and Alberta caucuses to come out and say they're going to throw him out. That's not where we're at, right? These are the main parts of the Liberals' strongholds, and they're coming out and saying maybe personal, maybe not, but we want this guy gone. And so how in the world is he going to keep going? Now, there's an answer to that, right? He can keep going. As long as he doesn't meet the House, there are ways he can keep going with this. I mean, as much as his own party is saying, we don't want you here, we want to move on to somebody else, they don't have a formal mechanism to get him to move along. And so unless he's defeated in the House of Commons, it's difficult to see how the caucus will turn this into an actual leadership change, right? It would have to be unless they start coming up to the mic and saying, we're not going to meet you in caucus, we are going to vote with the opposition parties to defeat you, But if they do that, they're handing a victory to Pierre Poilievre, which I think is something they don't want to do. And as much as they want to see Trudeau to get on and do something else, they don't want to say, here's an election teed up for the Conservatives. That might help Pierre Poilievre win even more seats than he's scheduled or, looking like he'll do right now. So I think the caucus members who are trying to get Trudeau to think about what he's going to do in the next few days, in the next few weeks, they are between a rock and a hard place in a really bad way.
Well, and they're obviously looking at the numbers, right? Because that recent Angus Reid poll shows Liberal support at 16% and Trudeau's approval at an all-time low. If there was a mechanism to find a new leader for the Liberal Party, if Trudeau did decide to go, does that change those numbers? Can they gain ground?
Oh, honestly, I think this is probably too little too late for the most part. Now, saying that, of course, the MPs are seeing the writing on the wall. They're reading the polls the same as you are, the same as I am. But the MPs are also gathering a different kind of intel in that they're going to their constituencies. They're in their constituencies now. They're talking to the voters. They're talking to their supporters. And many of these MPs have said, we have heard from supporters, we really like you as an MP. I'd love to continue to support you, but I'm not to vote for Justin Trudeau ever. And so when the MPs are hearing that, that's where they're trying to push for a new leader, right? It's because there's the sense that maybe if it was someone else, I could save my own seat. And I don't blame them at all. But I think in terms of would a different leader have a different effect in certain ridings? Certainly, possibly, possibly. We'd have to wait and see. But is it going to change the overall trends in terms of where the parties are in standings? Probably not, honestly. And now the runway is so short. It's hard to see how a new leader would even have enough time and enough opportunity to change the party. And Justin Trudeau has made this party his own. It's not going to be a sense of passing the torch. There's going to be a whole lot of redoing, rebuilding, rebranding to try to give this party to somebody else.
And all of this is happening with that possibility of Trump tariffs looming in weeks. How does that impact what happens next year for the Liberals?
I mean, the timing couldn't be worse. It creates a huge, kind of throws a big bomb in the middle of the room on top of everything, the rest of the uncertainty that's going on. I think it's something that the Liberals potentially, that I shouldn't say the Liberals, it's something that Trudeau could potentially use as a moment to say, we're facing this moment where Trump is inaugurated on January 20th. He's threatening tariffs. We need to pull together. We need to be Team Canada. I'm the captain. Let's prorogue Parliament so that we can just band together and stop this nonsense and see what we can do to take Trump head on as a united front. I can imagine a circumstance like that. I'm not sure that that's what's going to happen, but I think it's one possibility if he is looking to buy some time. But I think no matter what, right, like the last, when you think about it, do we want to be in a circumstance where we're trying to find a prime minister? Because there's a leadership race going on in the Liberal Party while Trump comes in and makes these announcements about what he's going to do, which would be devastating to the Canadian economy if he tries to go ahead with these tariffs. But on the other hand, do we want to have a prime minister who clearly has a serious issue with respect to having the confidence of the House and in terms of having the confidence of his own party? My goodness, Lori, there is so much to watch for in the new year. Yes, we will not be bored. I promise. We will not be bored. Thank you so much. Lori Turnbull is a political science professor. She is at Dalhousie University.